How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hopefully everyone's day's been going well. So as most of us Reds fans know, Lance McAllister, big on 700 WLW, host, talks a lot Reds, talks extra innings, brought up the question of Aristides Aquino for Amed Rosario. Do you pull the trigger on that trade? Now, I'll tell you what, we're going to look into this one. First of all, as far as Aquino's concerned, I'm honestly more than willing to walk this guy out the door. First of all, this Reds outfield has more outfielders than it does positions to fill here. As we know, it's been a position the Reds now for a couple years have had quite a few options out there with. So I feel like, you trade a position of surplus for a position of need. I love the idea from that standpoint. And again, Aquino, 14 home runs, 33 RBIs, 320 average in that month of August when he first came onto the scene there and just blew up. But then September came around, 5 home runs, 14 RBIs, 196 average. He batted 170 last year. He hasn't really proven that he can make that big step. Once, pitchers stopped throwing him those meatballs down the middle and they've, adjusted to him, we're still waiting to see that adjustment phase out of him. And I think that's a concern. I think it's a concern that you say, okay, can we possibly sell this guy while he's hot and still get something really good in return for him? And I do think it's a good idea for that reason to trade him. But my issue with trading anybody at this point in time with the Reds, they just clearly went out there and just pulled the rug out from under all of us and said, hey, we're going to trade this guy. We're going to throw this guy away. We're not going to sign this guy. It felt like they gutted the team this offseason after a year where they just went all in and tried to be a playoff contender. I mean, it didn't gut the team, but it's essentially what it felt like watching them just kind of pluck player after player, trade after trade for whatever they got in return for some of these guys. And I think that you got to consider that. You can't go out there and say, okay, let's go out and, trade Aristides Aquino for a 28-year-old or a 29-year-old. I think that is just a terrible idea. If you're going to make a trade, any trade at all, if you're the Reds right now, if you're going to make any trade at all, I think you have to go out there. It has to be a younger guy. Either trade for some prospects, trade for a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, 25-year-old that's got a potential to not only to be on a cheaper team-friendly deal, but to be on this team for a longer duration of time. I think one of the issues we kind of, we're seeing the Reds get into here is they're not a big market team. They can't go out and just sign big player after big player after big player, and they tried to do it and it didn't work out. They're trying to cut cap now. Boy, I love that they're active in free agency. I think it's a great idea. But the thing is, when you're not this big market team that just got there and trade, sign, you have to be very, very tight with the farm system. You can't go out there and, oversell it. You have to trust in these guys being the future of this team, and you build around those guys. You're not a team that's going to go out there and buy players if it doesn't turn out. So for that reason, I am very hesitant on any Reds trade. But I think you look and say, Jose Garcia, you want him to be the future. How long's he got? 1 year, 2 year? Do you throw him in a mix now? I think a lot of people are pretty sold on trying to sign a shortstop right now. You definitely don't want to bury this guy, I don't think, though. At the same time, you want to bring the youth up if you can. But Amed Rosario, again, a guy who is currently a career 268 hitter, but at the end of the day, out of 3 of the 4 years he's played, he's batted about 250-ish. But that's still solid. At solid shortstop numbers, I don't think you're asking, again, we're not asking for a Francisco Lindor. We're not asking for a guy to bat 290 over here. We're just asking for a solid cog in the lineup and a place of weakness for the Reds. And again, he's a guy that can stay on this team for 3 years. 3 years he's going to be arbitration eligible, and he's 25 this season. I think the big question you ask yourself is, would you rather make that trade, or would you rather just try to sign a free agent shortstop for a year or 2 years and try to make that work? And then Jose Garcia is ready to go and take that spot right there. At the end of the day, I think I'm more sold on trading Aquino than I am trading for Rosario. I just think the Reds, again, they're not in this position to be this big powerhouse buyer. You got to try to, if you can, get some top-notch prospects and other positions in return for, for an area of surplus. Why not try to make that work? That's my overall thoughts on that. If the Reds are going to make any trades, love to hear you guys. As always, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.